Hey everybody, it's Brent in Central Arkansas. I've had some requests for my setup here for microgreens, and I'm going to show you that today. What I've got here is your standard rack. It's very common to get from a big box store. It's basically 4 feet by 2 feet, 4 feet length, 2 feet wide, about 6 foot high. I've got my lettuce and microgreen trays up on top, along with some other miscellaneous stuff. I've got a rack of greens growing in my lettuce assemblies. I got a lettuce assembly here. I've only got one microgreen growing right now because it's so warm in here. See the temperature there? 90 degrees, 77 humidity. It is quite warm in here, and it is not ideal at all for growing microgreens. But with the way I grow, it'll grow warmer, but usually I try to keep it 80 or below if I can. It's just that it's the August the 9th and it's the middle of the day. This is as hot as it gets in here. So I've got lights here, LED lights, and they're in my Amazon store, and they're linked together, and they have switches over here on them where I could turn them off and on. See it down there? Another tray down there. And I've also got my pump on this side. I have it suspended by a bungee cord, and this is a commercial pump. They call it a commercial pump, and it's got several valves on it. There's actually 2 pumps going on here because I've got other things going right now, or other things going at times, but not right now. Mainly it's just this one running, and it's running all these lettuce assemblies and the microgreen assembly here. And also one of my broccolis that I'm saving the seed from growing over here. It's got an air stone in there. So that's what that pump is doing. It's got valves to control it. Also, each assembly has a valve here to reduce the airflow. So I've got the LED lights there. Each one of those are 18 watts, and I've got 6. Let me see that. I had an extra. I might have put a 7th one on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I've actually got 7 on that one. 6 on this one, and I believe 6 on that one there. Just because I had extras, I put an extra one up there. The more lighting, the better. So if you take 18 times 7, 8 times 6 is, if it was 6 times 2, that's 20, that's 120, minus 6, 2's 12, it's about 110 plus an extra one. It's about 120 watts. My math isn't the greatest in the world, but 120 watts will supply light for microgreens or lettuce, and it does it wonderfully. I've done it over and over and over and over and over, and it does great. So 120 watts ish of LED lights per rack, and it'll grow both lettuce and microgreens wonderfully. Now when I grow microgreens and lettuce too, filling up the reservoir I usually do by taking and adding the nutrient from my 55-gallon drum in the next room over here, and I fill up a couple of these at a time and then just pour them into the reservoir on both of them. And I usually go half strength, but a lot of times I'll do full strength if I'm trying to maximize the grow. Lettuce and greens, well this one's cabbage, so that one will easily take full strength, but a lot of times lettuces, they need half strength because they'll get tip burn and other things. But what I do with that is I just fill it when the jug's halfway full, and I fill the rest with clean water. All these over here are clean water. Now I created the grow room to grow all kinds of vegetables hydroponically. And what I've got now is aerated water culture, and you can see by the plants that they love it. So water culture does very well. Some people might call this water culture deep water culture. It's a water culture that's aerated. There's several names for it. Most commonly deep water culture. So because I have that in here, there's not any space to grow a whole lot of microgreens. And when I started growing microgreens, it was just for personal use. And then of course, because I was a YouTube creator, I just started, you know, showing me growing microgreens. And of course, I wanted to do it hydroponically, and so that's where I've gotten today with the book and selling everything that I sell and all that, the kits and whatnot. But this is still all I've got, and that's because I'm not a commercial grower. I don't need to grow beyond myself or beyond what's needed for a video, and so I just don't do it. The lettuce assembly up there too, we've been kept in heads of lettuce for quite some time. Now I'm attempting a small-headed cabbage as well. I think it'll do good up here. We will see, and I'll carry along as we go. This shelf here, it can be full of 4 different types of microgreens, but what I'm using it for now is the domes and covers and everything that I use frequently. Also on this shelf I've got my super antifungal that I spray daily on microgreens, and I've got a little bug zapper. It's not a zapper, it's a trapper. It sucks bugs in by this little light, and they go down in there and they can't get back out, and there's a sticky pad in there too. It does really good at controlling the bugs. I didn't mention this, but I also use this to do vegetable garden starts, and I've got melon and squash in here as well as a couple more tomatoes I want to go ahead and start. So the rack is very versatile for lots of different things, and that's all I use. Like my melon have all pretty much germinated. I put 2 in each one, and so that's pretty good germination. I think there's 2 in every single one except this one, and that might be trying to come up here. Anyway, I've got another squash. It looks like it's trying to come up there, but they didn't pop up like the melons. So I have a couple little tomatoes that I want to, cherry tomatoes that I want to grow into the fall. I do have everything timed. Timer here that controls this power strip, which controls when the whole power strip comes on and goes off. And then individual, so the lights come on a certain time, they go off at a certain time. And then down here, this controls the 2 pumps and the various times they come on. This is an 20 times a day timer. This is an 8 times a day timer. You can get by with the 20 times a day timer for both situations, but this one comes on for 30 minutes every 2 hours now is what I have them set for, and that runs both lettuce and microgreens. The other one over here, that runs the water culture bed. I did fabricate 2 well-made computer fans that run off of, well, they're high quality computer fans, and I used a piece of plastic to mount them to. And I also have, these are also 110 capable, so I have it plugged into a strip too that comes on when the lights come on. It's plugged in, where is it plugged in? Okay, it's plugged in down here. So these fans, you can see there, they're AC infinity. So that just keeps a little bit of air movement. It's not a whole lot of air movement, but it keeps the air movement going across here. This is a controller for this power strip actually, and the power strip plugs in here, but the power strip has 2 2x4 heat mats on it, here and down here, if you can see it here, and I keep it right at 80 degrees. Right now it says 71. It says it's cutting on, but I don't have a power strip on. So if I turn the power strip on, this would, well, maybe it's not set it. Let's see what it's set at. I gotta figure out how I set it. Oh, it's set at 78. I had it at 80 at one point. But anyway, once that reaches below 78, it'll cut the power on, and this power strip, this light will be on the power strip, which would show power to these 2 heat mats. So that's the purpose of this controller. I bought this controller, it came with one of the 2x4 heat mats. I believe it's in my Amazon store if you want to take a look at the exact one I bought. And the link is in the description to that. So yeah, I do have this controlling 2 heat mats. I prefer to keep the temperature right at 80 degrees consistently. If it goes below that, it'll cut on and the heat mat will come on and raise the temperature up to the probe, which the probe is right here in this top lettuce assembly. It's ironically growing cabbage. But anyway, so that one sets the tone, the temperature, which reads here, and they'll cut on. But if it rises above 80 degrees, then it shuts off. So that's the way it is right now during the summer, almost all the time anyway. Plus I have it turned off. I don't need it now. It really comes in handy during the colder months, especially dead winter. The main movement of air is controlled by this ceiling fan here, and I can set it at any speed, 3 different speeds, and I have it on most of the time I have it on high, but it's not blowing down air, it's pulling air up and dispersing it around, so it's on reverse, I guess you could say, and that does generate some good airflow along with the air conditioner that's blowing air on everything. It should be noted too that I do a lot of trials, and I have this whole dresser full of stuff to do trials for microgreens and lettuce, and I've got various things here and underneath the bed and in the closet over there. This is one of our 2 spare bedrooms. Now the kids are grown and I've taken it over. It's become my grow room of sorts for some trials that I do. So that pretty much covers it. I think I've been through every shelf and every part of the greenhouse in here, kind of explaining things. I've got, I just saw this, the Mars Hydro light over there that does really good. Behind it, there's acrylic polycarbonate greenhouse plastic that lets the sun in. That helps on this side in an attempt to keep the heat down. I have shade cloth over it, but I also have grow lights up here, including the Spider Farmer light that I showed one time, and some high bay lights, just to determine how they grow compared to, say, like a Mars Hydro light. They do real good for me. I'm probably going to go with a couple more Mars Hydro, or a similar one to that, which is a white grow light, various temperatures of white. So that's pretty much it for what's going on in here, and I hope that answers any questions anybody may have about how I grow. I'm in here all the time, several times a day. I love being in here, except when it's super hot, but that's just the way it goes in the south, in the middle of the hottest part of the year. That's it, guys. We'll see you later.